Another important piece of legislation that would be introduced in this budget session, which is currently running in the Lok Sabha or House of People of India, is the Indian Ports Bill 2025. The bill would be introduced apprehending the bone of contention in between this union and states, as almost majority of ports owned by the state governments and which were termed as non-major ports, and the union government is having control over all the 11 major ports in India. So the present bill, that is Indian Ports Bill 2025, is to repeal and replace the 117 years old Indian Ports Act of 1908. And in the very bill, Centre has agreed to consult the states on most of the matters pertaining to the overall port sectors, and it was okayed by the Union Council of Ministers in February 2025. So the very bill has been a bone of contention between the centre and states, with the states facing that the proposed bill would erode their powers over non-major ports, and item listed in the concurrent list of the Constitution, and which would went against the spirit of cooperative federalism. The bill seeks to set up a maritime states development council, a statutory empowered agency tasked with advising the union government for fostering structured growth and development of the port sector while ensuring optimum utilization of the coastline of India. To be sure, the Maritime States Development Council has been operational since 1997, which was constituted through a union government notification initially focusing on integrated planning of non-major ports owned by the state governments. The bill seeks to extend Maritime States Development Council's scope to include major ports under central government control. The MS, this is empowered to advise the central government on formulation of a national prospective plan to meet the requirements of trade and priorities associated infrastructure development. The Council's function will be recommendatory in nature, noting that the decision to make MSDC a recommendatory agency from the previously proposed regulatory body followed strident opposition from the states in India. However, the National Prospective Plan and guidelines issued by the Council will be mandatory rather than advisory for the union government, state governments, and the respective authorities. The central government, state governments, and authorities shall endeavor to adhere to the national plan and guidelines issued by the Council in developmental works of the port, which includes works carried out within existing ports, development of new ports, and alteration of existing port limits. The National Prospective Plan for Indian Ports is aimed at providing predictability and stability for the entire ecosystem as well as future investors. The MSDC is designed as a focal body representative of cooperative structure for efficient, competitive, and sustainable growth within the sector. As India has already 12 major ports, 11 of which are run by the Union government through the Major Ports Authorities Act of 2021 and one run under the Companies Act. On the other hand, 217 notified non-major ports are governed by respective state governments through the Indian Ports Act of 1908 and other state government statutes. The Indian Ports Act 1908, a pre-independence era legislation, was enacted to consolidate all previous laws relating to ports and port changes. The need to revamp the Indian Ports Act 1908 has become imperative to bring it in the line with the present day frameworks, incorporate India's international obligations, evolve in tandem with technological advancement, address emerging environmental concerns, and aid the consultative development of the port sector in national interest. The council will be headed by the Union Minister for Ports, Shipping and Waterways and comprise the Minister in charge of ports of each state, the Union Territory of Puducherry, and the administrators of all other coastal union territories, the secretary or equivalent rank officer, each in the Indian Navy and Indian Coast Guard, dealing with coastal security, and secretary, Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, who will be the member secretary of the council. The council shall make recommendations to the government on various matters, including the adequacy of the existing laws or statutory compliances, with a view to providing a more efficient and conducive framework for ports in India. It will also suggest measures to facilitate growth of the port sector, promote competition and efficiency in port operations, enhance port connectivity, and access the requirement of other infrastructure through road, rail, and land waterways, transport, pipeline, and conveyors. Now we would like to discuss the state maritime boards. The bill also proposes to give statutory recognition to state maritime boards or other boards set up by the state governments for effective administration, control, and management of ports other than major ports which are exclusively under the control of Union government. The state maritime boards will be tasked with initiating plans for development and improvement of ports other than the major ports which are under the control of union governments. To ensure an efficient and effective administration of justice and timely resolution of disputes within a state, the respective state maritime board will act as a dispute resolution committee, a three-member panel that will be empowered to handle disputes involving non-major ports exclusively under the control of respective states, and the private operators or port users and port service providers to ensure smooth functioning of the port sector. The order of the Dispute Resolution Committee of the state maritime boards can only be challenged only in the respective high courts of the states. Besides that, the bill empowers the state maritime board on the authorization by state maritime board to fix the port tariff for every port other than major port, and the board of major port authority or persons authorized under the Major Port Authorities Act, which was enacted in 2021 to fix the port tariff for each major port, which are directly under the control of union government. The MSDC will be empowered to frame guidelines on transparency of port tariff, including the components thereof. As per the provisions of the bill, any port undergoing a change in substantial ownership or effective control shall obtain prior clearance from the central government or a person authorized by it in such form and within such time and manner as may be notified by the central government in consultation with the respective state governments. This provision has been included to enhance the security at ports by requiring central government clearance in such cases. The union government may by notification declare a port or part thereof non-operational if it has been non-operational for a continuous period of 10 years, or if required in the interest of national security. The central government, in consultation with the state government, will also prescribe norms for declaring a new port and for altering the limits of existing ports. And besides that, another major provision that is relating to mega ports. So the central government, in consultation with the state government, will notify the criteria for classification of a port as mega port. The term mega port means any major port or port other than a major port classified as a mega port on the basis of criteria notified. The central government is empowered to classify a major port as a mega port, and in consultation with the state government can also classify a port other than a major port as a mega port. And the very Indian Ports Bill of 2025, which has been approved by the Union Council of Ministers, is set to be introduced in the second half of the Parliament's current running budget session of 2025, proposes to make certain criminal offences committed under the bill and such are categorized as 23 violations, and such violations would be considered as criminal offences, including those related to safety and marine pollution at ports, oil spills, and waste disposal. The bill proposes to have penalties ranging between arrest 10,000 to arrest 2 lakh and imprisonment in some cases. The criminal offences would also include non-payment of port fees and charges, obstruction of port operations, damage to the property, violation of safety regulations, and unauthorized access to port areas. So, these are the proposed provisions in the Indian Ports Bill of 2025, which would be introduced into the Lok Sabha in the second half of the current Parliament's budget session, which is running at present. So, the very proposed bill that would be introduced in the current budget session is to bring sweeping changes in the 117-year-old Indian Ports Act, which was enacted in 1908, to make all ports, major and non-major port, report any incident that threatens pollution of coastal waters and damage to their properties and provide data on trade and commerce.